You've been revising wrong. Yeah, you. I'm sorry if you got offended by that. I'm also not sorry, but I'm going to say that I'm sorry so that you keep watching. This is how to revise according to psychology. What exactly does psychology say about revision and why is that important? Well, I mean, psychology is about understanding how people work, or at least trying to understand how people work. And if we can do that, then we can figure out how to make you revise in the most effective way as possible, because if you're not doing that, then you're just wasting your time. In this video, I'm going to be giving you 6 things that psychology says about revision that you need to know if you want to if you want to revise effectively. And yeah, intro, bloody, bloody, blah. Okay, let's get into this right now. Get into the video. The first thing that you need to keep in mind is that your focus time is not unlimited. And what do I mean by that? A study was done at the University of Michigan where students were told to track their time of sustained focus. And to do this, the students started studying up until the point where they couldn't focus anymore, where they were just reading words and it just wasn't going into your head. You know when that happens, when you're just reading the textbook and it just doesn't go into your head and then you just feel really stupid? Yeah, that thing. But they found this average sustained focus time to be about 25 to 30 minutes, which means that if you're revising for more than 30 minutes at a time, you're wasting your time. And yeah, I'm talking to you. You who had just pulled in an all-nighter to revise for that test the other day. I'm sorry about that. However, there is a very easy solution to this, which is taking 5-minute breaks after the 25 to 30-minute period. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, right? People even made a productivity thing, People even made a productivity technique called the Pomodoro technique, which is based on a tomato clock.
Don't question it.
And essentially all you have to do is revise for 25 minutes, then take a 5-minute break, and then do this 3 more times until you take a longer break for about 20 minutes, and then you repeat the process. It's the simplest thing ever.
I don't know why it has a name.
They should have just called it taking breaks between revision, because that's what it is. Just take a break. Don't sit there for more than 25. Okay, anyways, you get the point. The reason you take this 5-minute break is because it almost fully replenishes that 25 minutes of focus time that you're able to have initially, which means that you'll be able to focus like a pro, and the information will go into your head, which is what we're trying to do when you revise. So definitely take breaks. The second thing psychology says about your revision is that you need to be in a perfect study environment. Okay, maybe not perfect, but maybe you need to rethink when you're revising in your bedroom, your living room, or your kitchen. Why? Well, in your bedroom, your bed is right there. And sometimes, you know, you might be feeling a bit tired. You might take a lie down and then now you're asleep. And now you've had a 3-hour nap. Does that even count as a nap if it's like 3 hours? I don't know how naps work. I don't nap, okay? It's bad for you.
Napping is unhealthy.
That's just incorrect. Napping's kind of healthy, I think. I don't know. I haven't looked into it. Also, there's already a lot of associations to do with your bedroom. For example, if you have your laptop or your computer in your bedroom, you've probably used this to watch Netflix or play some video games or whatever you do. I use it to watch anime sometimes, I must say so myself, but I'm not a weeb.
Please don't call me a weeb.
So when you're in your bedroom, it's very hard to revise because you've associated this room with sleeping and watching Netflix or whatever you do. I'm not going to judge you. But okay, let's say you're revising your kitchen. No one's in there except for you. Okay, you're revising, you're doing it great, okay? But then you get a bit hungry and you decide to make a sandwich, which takes you about 20 to 30 minutes. So now you've just wasted 20 to 30 minutes making a freaking sandwich because you got a bit hungry, and it's very easy to do so when you're in the kitchen because you've already associated the kitchen with food and being hungry. Brain shit. Now, how about studying in the living room? Most of the time in the living room, there's going to be other people in there, like probably your family members or maybe your friends if you've invited them over. I don't know. I don't know what you do with your house. If there's other people in the living room with you while you're revising, you're just going to get distracted every so often because they're just going to ask you some random question. Then you're going to get caught up in some random conversation that has nothing to do with the topic you're studying about. And then you've just wasted time that you wanted to use to revise. You wanted to use that time to get done, but you got nothing done because you're just talking to your parents or your sister or your brother or whoever you're talking to. Maybe you're talking to your dog. I don't care. This is why when I was revising for my A-levels and GCSEs, I went to the library a lot. There was actually a point in time when I was revising for my A-levels when I went to the library on my own for an entire week during half term. Why?
Because I'm a nerd.
I wanted to get good grades because I wanted to get into Oxford, and I managed to do that at the end of the day, although I didn't actually sit my A-levels. We don't talk about that. But it definitely worked for my GCSEs, going to the library to be in that environment that you haven't associated with anything yet. And in fact, a lot of the time when you think about a library, you think about either reading or studying, right? That's what a library is for. By being in this environment with everyone else around you, most likely doing the same thing as you, which is studying or reading, you're also more likely to do the same thing because now you're pressured to revise because everyone else around you is doing that exact thing. And if you're not revising and everyone else is, then you feel a bit left out, social influence and all of that. So essentially what you're doing is you're peer pressuring yourself into revising by sitting in the library. If you still don't believe me, here's some evidence to back it up. At the University of Hawaii, they found that the students found it hard to begin revision. So they gave half of the students a lamp to use while they were revising, and they gave the other half of the students a lamp, and they didn't tell them anything, they just gave them a lamp. The students who were given this study lamp were told to only turn on the lamp while they were revising. And the students who were given the lamp they were given a lamp, right? But because half of the students were given this dedicated study lamp and they would only turn it on while they were revising, they would now associate revision with turning on that lamp. So because they would start revising as soon as that lamp was on, then every single time they turned the lamp on, it was very easy to just guess into revision, because now your brain has made those associations with studying. As soon as I turn on the lamp, I'm gonna revise, because that's how it works. I've done it this many times already. Now it's become a habit, or it's become an association. Classical conditioning for you psychologists out there. The students who weren't told about using the lamp for studying basically didn't only use it for studying, so they didn't form these same associations. And it was actually found that the students who were told that this lamp was a dedicated study lamp actually got 1 grade higher on average compared to the other students. So maybe if you can't go to your local library, at least try and invest in like a cheap £5 to £10 lamp that you only turn on while you're revising. In fact, I actually did this for my GCSEs. I didn't even know this was a thing. Or maybe I did know it was a thing. I forget. Moving on. Now, the third thing that you need to do is to hide your freaking phone. Just put it away. You don't need that. I get it. You use your phone on your breaks, all right? But you need to hide your phone. You need to put that stuff away while you revise, because otherwise you're going to find it a lot harder to revise. And this is according to several studies that have been done with your phones in revision. Wow. But studies have shown that people with a phone in their pocket, or even on their desk, or even present in the room where they can kind of see it, perform worse at tests when compared to people who have put their phone in another room. Why is this exactly? Associations, guys. Classical conditioning. Pavlov's dogs, you know, if you're a psychologist. What do you use your phone for? Well, you use your phone a lot for social media, especially today with TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. But let's be honest with ourselves, only old people use Facebook these days. Or unless you're in some uni that requires Facebook for groups, but that's just weird unis like Oxford for some reason. A lot of the time you get distracted with notifications from your phone. You're always getting buzzes and beeps, or even just a ping of a light. It can be super distracting because you've already associated it with these distracting things. When you see your phone, it's going to be in the back of your mind, like maybe I'll get a message, maybe someone's texted me, maybe my crush has texted me. I don't know what you're thinking about. Do people even have crushes these days? I feel like I just haven't had a crush for like ages, and it's just me. It probably is just me, isn't it? Put that phone in a drawer where it's out of sight and it's out of mind, because otherwise you're going to see that phone in your periphery and you're just going to pick it up for 1 second, and now you've been scrolling through Instagram for about 30 minutes. Or if you're on TikTok, you'll be scrolling through that for like an hour, because that is addictive as I'm swearing too much. I'm going to stop doing that. What I like to do is I like to put my phone in my sock drawer, or like some sort of drawer in my room, because then it's not like immediately there for me to just grab and look at. Out of sight, out of mind. Oh, my phone, my mobile device just jumped out of my pocket. Before we get into tip number 4, remember to like and subscribe, please. Thank you. The fourth thing you need to know about revision is that you need to stop highlighting your notes. Stop that right now. Stop it. Okay, I get highlighting is probably the easiest way to revise. You know, you go through your notes and you highlight the important bits and you're done, all right? You're done. You capiche in that capiche. What rhymes with capiche? I don't know. Okay. The main problem with highlighting your work is that when you go back to those notes and you see those highlighted bits, you recognize these highlighted points because you kind of just think back to the time when you were highlighting them, and then you're like, oh yeah, I remember highlighting this. But do you actually remember the information? Probably not. You just remember highlighting it and reading it over. So now because you recognize those highlighted bits, you just look at it and you're like, okay, I know this. I don't need to revise this. So you move on, and then you do this with every single other highlighted bit, because obviously you're going to recognize that you highlighted it. But because you do this and you haven't actually remembered the information, when the test happens the next day, because obviously we're cramming, we're all students here, right? But when that test comes around and you get those questions, you just don't remember anything, because the thing is, you've went through these things. You think you remember everything, but you only remember some of it, mainly because we haven't actually tested whether or not we remember these things. The best way to test whether or not you actually remember something is to just get a blank piece of paper and write down all of the things that you remember, because then you don't really have any cheaty way of saying, oh yeah, I remember this already, by just looking at it and being like, oh, okay, I kind of remember reading that. I remember the information, guys. I get it. By writing everything down on a blank piece of paper about a certain topic, now you know that the things that you haven't written down are the things that you need to revise, because those are the things that you don't actually remember. The things that you do remember will have been written down on that piece of paper. And you better not have looked through a textbook just before doing this, because that's cheating, all right?
Stop cheating.
Then you can go on and compare what you've written down on the paper to the actual topic list, and you can see which topics that you haven't written down and then just go and revise the topics. It's very efficient, guys. All right. The fifth thing that psychology says about revision is that you need to sleep.
You gotta sleep, bro.
Now I get it, all right? We're students. We have the worst sleep schedules ever compared to literally everyone else in the world, okay? We're not even insomniacs. We're just, well, some of us are insomniacs. If you're an insomniac, skip this point, please. I'm sorry. According to psychology, REM sleep is very important for memory consolidation, and obviously memory consolidation is needed to revise, because if you don't remember what you're revising, how are you going to revise? Wait, no, not how are you going to revise, but how are you going to remember things for the test? It's difficult. There are so many psychological studies out there that have just shown that sleep is so important for remembering things. And obviously, if you're not getting that sleep, if you're not getting those REM sleep cycles, which is like the time when you dream and you think, anyways, if you're not getting in those adequate sleep cycles every single night, then it's going to be a lot harder for you to retain the information that you were revising the day before. Some people actually see sleep as a waste of time because you can get in more revision if you don't sleep. Hustle, guys, hustle culture. It's a bit toxic, to be honest. The studies that have been done about sleep have found that it's more difficult to recall information when lacking sleep, and they've also found that it's more difficult to recall information when you're woken up frequently during sleep because you're not getting in those full sleep cycles, which is what we want if you want some of that crispy remembering. Moving on to the sixth thing that you need to know about revision, because psychology says it's important, and that is that you need to put in the effort. You lazy ass man or woman or them or they. You get the point, all right? Whoever you are,
You need to put in more effort.
I don't care who you are, I don't care what you are, I don't care if you're even a human being watching this video. And if you're not a human being watching this video, that's kind of cool, because I don't know how you are comprehending this information unless you're like an alien or something. Comment down below if you're not a human being.
And like the video.
And subscribe. I know we hate it, okay? We don't like effort, especially teenagers. As teenagers, we hate effort. And I'm saying that as a person on the very end of my teenagehood, because I'm 19. I'm feeling a bit old, guys. But here's a study that shows that you need to put in more effort, but I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory anyways, right? More effort equals more results most of the time. A study that was done at Princeton University got two groups of students, and they got one group to make notes by hand, and they got one group to make notes normally by typing up, which is like usual, right? While listening to these lectures, one group of students actually wrote down their notes physically. Yes, it's exhausting. And the other group of students just got their laptops and banged it out, you know. You know how we make notes at uni, right? I hope some of you are uni students. Otherwise, my demographic is just younger than me, and that's not a problem, just as long as you subscribe. Now, at the end of the semester, when they did their test, they found that the group of students who actually wrote down their notes, who were forced to write their notes every single lecture, did 2 times better than the other students who didn't have to physically write down their notes. You just typed it up. They did 2 times better. That's literally like double the results from just writing down the notes. Okay, I say just writing down, but it's probably like significantly a lot more effort when you're like writing it down, because you got to pay more attention. You got to like freaking write, and yeah, you're obviously picking. Okay, basically more effort equals more remembering. The more effort you put in, the more likely you are to remember the information for the test that comes around, okay? But wait, Lisa, I hear you say, these people who wrote down the notes, they might have just reviewed the notes more because maybe they didn't hear some things in class, and maybe they asked their other students, you know, their student friends about information, so they actually looked over more stuff. Technically, that's still putting in more effort, right?
But
If you're still not convinced.
There are 2 more variations that they did on this experiment. In both of these variations, okay, half the students are writing down notes, half the students are typing up. Okay, you get the gist. In one variation, the students were tested immediately after their first lecture. They found that the students who wrote down their notes still did 2 times better than the other group. But they did another variation. And this time they gave the students a surprise test a week after they had split the students into 2 groups. And after this surprise test, the students still did 2 times better. The people who wrote it down. I have no clue whether this has to do with writing notes down or whether it has to do with more effort being put in, but apparently just writing down the notes lets you remember things so much easier, or at the very least, it makes you perform better in the test. So write your notes down, kids. This is what we're doing, and I'm calling you kids. Yes, I'm calling you kids.
I'm an adult now.
I'm 19.
The more effort that you put into retaining a piece of information, the more likely you are to retain it. Now, you need to keep these 6 tips in mind because psychology is always 100% right. It's factual. It's exactly like every other science out there. See, the way science works is that it's an ongoing process. There's never 100% fact, so maybe you'll find better evidence in the future to support other stuff, okay? Keep that in mind, all right? This is a disclaimer. But I do guarantee that if you didn't know these 6 things before, and if you act upon them now, then you will definitely do at least a little bit better in your next exam. And that's given that you actually act upon them and that you actually revise, because if you don't revise, bro, this isn't gonna do shit. Okay, I don't know why you watch this video. What are you doing with your life? What am I doing with my life? I hope that you guys learned something new from this video, but at the very least, I hope that you enjoyed it. Thank you guys so much for being here. This has been Luther, and here's your reminder to never stop learning. Peace out. Now that we finished the video, I gotta make rice for my parents because I didn't let them use the kitchen while I was making this video. Clearly, we know that we love. Oh crap, I left the freaking fish head on the microwave.